Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to this brief live session. I am talking about books today. I'm talking about why children don't you find children who ordinarily would read books, and then all of a sudden your child stops reading books, right? And parents ask me, my child loves to read, but I don't know why he doesn't like to read anymore. Now, this is the thing. I just wrote a post about that, and I thought to share that, with you in a short conversation. Many times our children, starts by reading books because we have introduced them to reading books. But because parents can be really very ambitious, especially when you want to be intentional about what your children are reading. Listen to me very careful, dear intentional parents. I am not saying there's anything wrong with us picking the right kind of books for our children. But it needs to be done with a lot of strategy. It needs to be done with knowledge. So, in the bid to make sure that our children are not consuming junk, which of course is the right thing to do anyway, right? We end up, pushing certain books their way. And because we have introduced them to books quite early, you find out that the child reads the books that you push their way. Now, while pushing those books their way, you are not taking into cognizance what the child is ready for and what the child is really comprehending. So, do you know that your child can actually read a book and the child would seem to know what the child is reading? But apart from what each individual word means in that book or sentence means in that book, the child really doesn't comprehend the logic, the lessons, the concept, or whatever it is that book is about. I'll give you an example. So recently our daughter got bored. She just turned 11 about a few days ago, so she was about 10 at the time. So she got bored that she had read all her books and she didn't have new books to read. She is a voracious reader, by the way. Now, she didn't have any more books to read and she decided to borrow, some from her brother's library. Her brother is almost 17. So she goes into his room and then picks The Alchemist. Yes. So she picks The Alchemist and asks if she could read it. And he's like, I don't think that's age appropriate for you, and all that. But because she's her, she decided it's okay. I've read bigger books. That's how she put it. I've read 200, I've read bigger books basically. And this is not so big and pretty and not so, I can deal with this one. So she reads that book. And because she is a lover of books, right? She didn't stop reading the book. She didn't drop the book at some point like, okay, I'm done. I can't continue. She actually read that book to the end. Now, because we have a culture of talking and reviewing the books that we have read, right? I asked her, if she had a good time reading the book. And she's like, oh, yeah, it was okay. And then, we decided to do a review, like, share with us what you read. Share knowledge and all that. And then she talks about the book. She actually talks about the book, made a lot of sense. If you've read the book, you will know that she was making a lot of sense. So yeah, her brother was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, okay. But at the end of the day, I asked her, do you really understand, or did you really understand the book? And she said, nah. That's what she said. She was like, nah, I didn't, and I'm like, okay, so maybe you would have to pick it, in another 1, 2, 3 or whatever, time. And that's the thing. So even for our children who read, probably books that they need or books, that are recommended, and all of that, it could be that the child is reading the book. The child can read the book. The child can read, right? And then, of course, the child knows how to start and finish the things that this, that they begin, and the child stays on and reads the book. But the child doesn't really connect with the book. The child didn't really comprehend the book to the extent that the child can internalize or apply the lessons or concept or whatever it is in that book in their everyday life. And our children read from one book to the next book, that way. And I am not saying this because these books are probably faith-based books, or they are books that are inspirational or anything like that, because it can be a book that teaches all the lessons, and it's a storybook. I am saying, even for so that you don't say, oh, because you people are forcing them to read serious books, they should just be reading the wimpy stuff. No, that's not necessarily it. Because your child can actually read all the wimpy stuff and all the, books that are easy to read and all of that, and it doesn't develop their minds in any way. Right? Your child can still read all of these books and it's a lot of garbage in, right? Right. So it's not as a result of, the fact that the books are inspirational. It's just that your child is not ready for that book yet. The child is not able to relate. The child is not able to connect with the book. So that is where having children read books or having children transition, right, from one book or one level of reading to the next level. And that transition doesn't necessarily have to do with their age, because depending on how much the child has cultivated a love for reading, depending on how much the child has internalized and how much of a learner the child is, the child could be reading books at a level that is higher than their age. Or the child could be even a teenager, and the child is still at the level of, a 6-year-old when it comes to books. So it's not about the age. It's about, what the child can connect with, what the child can relate to, what is authentic to the child at the time, and yes, what it is that the child can comprehend. So if you don't pay attention to these, dear parents, you will raise children who will read books because they can read. They are learned, isn't it? They are learned, they can read books, and so they will read the books because they can read books. They are children that you have, built a culture, habit of reading in your home, and so they can take the book and they can stay on it. But what happens a lot of the times, as soon as you are not there anymore as the motivation, and this could be because the child has gone to school, could be that the child has gone to boarding school and you are not there as the motivation, or the child has even graduated from secondary school and the child has gone, to, the next level, and you are not there as a motivation anymore, and so boom, it's gone. So you hear a lot of adults say things like, I used to read when I was younger, right? But I don't know what happened to me. A lot of times that's what happened, right? A lot of times that's what happened. The person never came. I mean, it could be that, yeah, right? It's a huge chance that this could be one of, the things that could have happened to this child, or this person, as they grew older. The person never really connected to that, habit, because they never really got a sense of satisfaction. Okay, they never got a sense of satisfaction, from the books. They never moved from needing to read, or being made to read, or being led to read, to reading because I love to read, I want to read. So I've just put together some amazing books, right, this year, and we are going to be launching those books in July. Now, when I talk about my books, I always say that I don't write books. Did I introduce myself? All right, my name is Maribeth Shima, and yes, I am an author and the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources, where we create amazing resources, educational resources, beautiful stories, age-appropriate books, tools, and books that can teach children all kinds of skills, right? And can help children create experiences for children. Yes. So I write books for children between 0 and 12. Yes. So our 7+ books are books that can be read by children who are 7, 8, 10, even 12, depending on where your child is at. Remember, I said that. So yes, your 12-year-old, the average 12-year-old will read our books and, connect with them. Right. So let's talk about one of the books that I wrote this year. So this year I dabbled, okay, not dabbled. This year I went fully into writing books for little children. And when I say little children, I mean 0 to 3 year olds. Yes. Okay. So it's something that I have thought about for the longest time, because for me, books is not just about how many books you've written. For me, books is not just about, what do the children I work with need. It's deeper than that. I want to see every child love, enjoy, and really, really become passionate about reading and learning. For me, this is big. If you followed me for a while, you will hear that as a parent, when I became a parent, one of the only things that I knew as someone who was going to raise children was the fact that I wanted them to know books, love books, and enjoy books. So I have carried this hunger, this nudge, right? I've carried this hunger, this nudge, this purpose for the longest time. So when I see a child, I just want to see someone who is open to learning. When I see a child, I just want to see someone who loves to learn, who is willing to learn, right? So when I see children doing exploits, and I'm not talking about grades, I mean, grades are beautiful and all of that, but when I see children who are really creating, children who are really solving problems, children who are really thinking, children who are having that they have gathered because they love to learn. It's one of the biggest, one of the biggest things for me as a teacher, a coach, a mentor, and a parent. It means so much to me because what this simply means is that wherever this child finds themselves, at whatever point this child finds themselves, they cannot be confused for too long. They cannot be lost for too long because they are open to learning. A child who reads and a child who enjoys learning is a fertile ground. It's a matter of just drop the seed there and it will grow. Just drop the seed there and it will sprout. Do you get? So it doesn't matter where the world is going, right? We say we don't know what the world is going to be in the next 5, 10, 20 years, right? With AI and all of the technological changes that are happening in the world. But the truth about it, the people that will live and thrive in the world as it is changing or fast changing are people who are open to learning. So it simply means that you are never going to be obsolete. You are never going to be in a place where you don't know what's going on around you because you are naturally or by default over the years, by training and nurturing and all of that, by practice, you are someone who wants to know, who wants to learn. And so it's a matter of time you will meet up, you will catch up, you will come around. And I think this is one of the most important gifts that we can give our children, raising them to be people who love and who enjoy learning. Okay. So I was talking about one of the books, okay, highlights on one of the books that I have written. So I wrote my first book series, okay, the one for the 0 to 3 years old, okay. I will tell the story about how that book happened this year in one of these episodes, right? In the coming days, right? I will talk about that because it's something I've thought about, as I said, but I didn't know that it was going to happen right now. But hey, we are here, right? And one of them is so the series is as I said, the series is my first big series, and it's about a little girl and her teddy bear called Nini, right? And so this one I'm talking about is Nini, look, you and I. Okay, so this is about friendship. So I've written a beautiful story about friendship where Nini is seen as Nini, right? I've written about friendship where the character has their parent or her parent as models of what friendship is. Now we've talked about things like this for the longest time. We've talked about this for the longest time, how our children will take what they see us model and they will leave that out. So the world that our children see will be through what they see us live every day. All right. So this is her showing, telling, and teaching her best friend, who happens to be her teddy bear, about the world around her as she understands it. And she's constantly saying, "Look, Nene, look. Daddy and mommy are best friends. They talk kindly to each other, so it's all of that. What is the child seeing around you?" And so this takes the child through an experience of what a family should be ideally, what kind of friendship should be nurtured, what kind of friendship, what friendship can look like in a family. So, as I always say, we don't just write books. I don't just write books. I create experiences such that while you're reading these books and with your child, you will be forced to be intentional about your environment. And so you will be learning, the child will be learning, you will be connecting. And just this little board book, yes, it's a full, colorful board book that the child can interact with. Yeah, we interact with. Now, in the book, we have the tap, right? We have the tap, try, and do part of the book where the parents' input comes in, right? Where you get to do a little role play, a little practice, or a little hands-on activity with the child. It's the parents' corner, all right? So in that book, the child can enjoy the book all by themselves, or the child can enjoy that book with you, with the parents using the prompts in the touch, try, and do part of the book. So you see, we have created a beautiful experience. So when I say our books are not just mere books, they are resources that can help you create experiences with your children. So how do you get this book? Very simple. So this series has got 3 books in that collection, okay, and it is in a bundle of 4 books. So we have our bedtime stories for little champions, and then 3 books from the first book series. Look, Nini, look. So you can get all 4 of them at a whooping 40% discount if you participate in our upcoming flash sale that is happening on the 29th of June. 24 hours only. Yes, you can get this book, all 4 of them in that collection, for 15,000 on that day instead of 25,000. Beat that. It's only for 24 hours. After that, it will revert. The price will go back to the pre-order price. That, of course, is much more than that. So I say to you, why pay more when you can pay less? Okay. So what do you do to get on that flash sale? To be a part of the flash sale, all you need to do is use the link in the comment section immediately after the session, or click the link in my bio on Instagram, any of our Instagram, accounts. Just click the link in bio, and you are able to use the link right there to join the wait list. Yes. So you join other hundreds of parents who are already in that wait list to be a part of the flash sale, where you get a whooping 40% discounts. As I always say, come and loot us. Okay, so we do this once in a year. So come and loot us for 2026. All right. But I promise you, you will be getting one of the most beautiful, resources into your home if you order this book or pre-order this books right now. So thank you for joining me, right? Thank you for joining me. Thank you for wanting to do more for your children and for always looking for opportunities to create the right experiences for your child. These books or these bundles that we are offering will give you an opportunity to do just that. Thank you for joining me again. I will see you again tomorrow. Join us tomorrow. I will share about the books every day so that you know what it is that you can get for your child and you know what exactly right is available. Thank you again. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye. Bye, and thank you for